All right, so get this. We're diving deep today into Performance Max for lead generation.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about not just getting those clicks, but like actually attracting high quality leads that convert.
The ones that actually matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You sent over some really fascinating material from Susan Yen's presentation.
Oh, yeah, from Engage 2024.
Yep. And it seems like we're on a mission here to figure out how to make PMax really deliver.
Cut through the hype.
Yeah, get past all the noise and see if it can actually live up to the promise.
To generate those valuable leads without sacrificing quality.
Exactly. So maybe let's start with the basics. For anyone who might not be super familiar, can you give us a rundown of what makes Performance Max campaigns unique?
All right, so Performance Max, or PMax as the cool kids call it, is a Google Ads campaign type that really tries to simplify things.
Okay.
Using automation to show your ads across all of Google's channels.
All of them.
All of them. We're talking search display, YouTube, Gmail, Discover, you name it.
Wow, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. And what's really cool is that it opens up access to new inventory and audiences that you wouldn't be able to reach with traditional campaigns.
So stuff you couldn't get to before.
Exactly. And on top of that, it leverages AI-driven optimization to try and get you the best results.
So it's like having a little AI assistant working for you.
Kinda.
So instead of having all these separate campaigns for each channel, you can just like consolidate everything into this one PMax campaign.
You got it. It's all about efficiency.
I mean, it sounds pretty amazing, but I can already see where some people might get a little hesitant.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's definitely this black box element that can make some folks uneasy.
That lack of control.
Exactly. You're giving up some of that granular control that you have with traditional campaigns.
So you're trading control for convenience.
In a way, but it's not always a straightforward trade-off. The automation and AI optimization are great for simplifying things, but they can also make it harder to understand exactly what's working and what's not.
So you might not know why something is working.
Right. You might see good results, but not really know how to replicate them.
And when you're focused on lead generation, like we're talking about today, that lack of transparency can be a real challenge.
Oh, huge challenge. I mean, think about it. You're trying to attract those valuable leads that are going to turn into customers, but you don't always have a clear picture of where they're coming from or what's driving them.
Yeah, it's like you're driving a car with a blindfold on.
A little bit.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh, what's that?
The elephant in the room. The perception that PMax leads can sometimes be
Not so great.
not so great.
Low quality.
Yeah, Susan's presentation dug into why so many marketers struggle with this. What are some of the main culprits?
So one of the biggest hurdles is that it can be really tricky to exclude irrelevant audiences.
Okay.
Even with all the targeting options available, PMax can sometimes cast a really wide net.
Bringing in those leads that just aren't the right fit.
Exactly. It's like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack.
So many needles.
Yeah.
So little time.
And sometimes it's not even the audience itself that's the problem. It's where your ads are showing up.
You're talking about ad placements.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you're running a campaign for like a high-end financial service, and your ad pops up on a website that's completely out of sync with your target audience.
No, not a good look.
Not at all. It can really damage your brand perception.
Yeah. You want your ads to be seen in the right places by the right people.
Exactly. And sometimes those mismatched placements can also lead to some confusing ad copy, especially with PMax's dynamic ads.
The dynamic ad dilemma.
That's it. That's the one.
So on one hand, dynamic ads can be super effective at personalizing your message.
Right. Reaching the right people with the right message at the right time.
But if you're not careful, it can create ad copy that's totally off base.
And that can end up scaring away those potential leads that you've worked so hard to attract.
It's like you're inviting someone to a party, and then when they get there, it's like a totally different vibe.
Right. It's not what they signed up for.
And to make things even more complicated, Susan talked about how hard it can be to even track where your leads are coming from.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Limited insight into lead sources is a major pain point with PMax.
So you might be getting leads, but you don't know where they're coming from.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
At this point, it sounds like PMax might be more trouble than it's worth for lead generation.
Yeah, it can definitely feel that way sometimes. But I have a feeling Susan wouldn't have dedicated a whole presentation to this if there weren't some solutions.
You're right. She's got to have some tricks up her sleeve.
She does. She does. She outlined some really actionable strategies for tackling these challenges head on.
Okay, so it's not about abandoning PMax altogether.
No, not at all.
It's about learning how to use it in a more strategic and targeted way.
Exactly. You got to be smart about it.
So how do we start being smart about it? Where do we even begin?
Well, Susan's first piece of advice is to set crystal clear conversion goals.
Okay.
And she's not talking about just any old conversion.
It's got to be specific.
Very specific. She's talking about defining exactly what a high-quality conversion action looks like for your business.
So it's not just about chasing volume. It's about focusing on the right conversions, the ones that actually align with your business goals.
Exactly. Quality over quantity.
I like it. But how do we make sure PMax is actually finding those valuable conversions?
That's where audience signals come in.
Okay.
Susan stressed how crucial it is to provide PMax with as much detailed information about your target audience as possible.
So we're giving PMax a laser focus.
Exactly. Instead of letting it blindly cast a wide net, you're telling it exactly who you're looking for.
It's like giving PMax a treasure map to the right leads.
I love that analogy. It's perfect. The more detailed and accurate your audience signals are, the better equipped PMax is to target your ads and attract those high-value leads.
Okay, so we're talking about things like demographics, interests, behaviors, past interactions with your brand.
All of that good stuff.
And Susan also talked about how it's usually a mistake to just throw everything into one giant PMax campaign.
Right. It's like throwing a party and inviting everyone, you know?
Yeah, some people just don't mix.
Exactly. Segmentation is key here. Susan recommends dividing your PMax campaigns into smaller, more focused groups.
So you can tailor your messaging and targeting more effectively.
Precisely. It's all about avoiding that one-size-fits-all approach that often leads to problems.
Makes sense. It's like creating a custom-fit suit instead of trying to squeeze everyone into the same off-the-rack outfit.
Perfect analogy.
And speaking of tailoring, we can't forget about the importance of strong, high-quality ad copy and visuals.
Oh, absolutely.
Susan gave some really interesting examples in her presentation, showing the difference between ad copy that attracts the right leads and copy that just falls flat.
It was like a showdown between good ad copy and bad ad copy.
And let's just say bad ad copy did not come out on top.
It is brutal.
It really highlighted that even with all the automation in the world, compelling creative is still absolutely crucial.
Couldn't agree more. But we've only just scratched the surface here.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. We've laid the groundwork with clear conversion goals, detailed audience signals, and segmented campaigns. Now it's time to get even more granular.
Ooh, I love getting granular. What's next?
Next up, we dive into the world of negative keywords and exclusions. And trust me, this is where things get really interesting.
Hold on, before we get lost in the weeds, I think it's time for a quick pause.
Okay.
We'll pick up right where we left off in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay, so negative keywords and exclusions. This is where we really start fine-tuning our targeting.
So we're telling PMax who we don't want to see our ads.
Exactly. It's like creating a do not invite list for your campaigns.
You got to keep those party crashers out.
Exactly. By identifying irrelevant search terms and audiences, you're basically telling PMax to steer clear.
So we're saving money and improving lead quality at the same time.
That's the goal. It's all about making sure you're not wasting your ad spend on clicks that are never going to convert.
This is making a lot of sense. So we've got those clear conversion goals, the detailed audience signals, and we're segmenting our campaigns. And now we're adding this extra layer of refinement with negative keywords and exclusions.
You got it. It's all about building a solid foundation for your PMax campaigns.
So what comes next after we've got that targeting all set up?
Well, then it's time to start thinking about campaign structure.
Okay, this is where it gets a little more complex, right?
Yeah, there's no one-size-fits-all solution here. As Susan pointed out, the best structure really depends on your specific business, your target audience, and your overall marketing goals.
So it's not a cookie-cutter approach.
Definitely not. I remember those cool visuals in her presentation. She showed different campaign structures, highlighting both audience-centric and product-centric approaches.
It was really interesting to see how those different structures played out.
It really emphasized that you need to choose the structure that makes the most sense for you.
So, for example, if you're targeting different audience segments with different needs, you might structure your PMax campaigns accordingly.
Exactly. Let's say you're a software company with one product for small businesses and another for large enterprises.
You wouldn't want to lump those audiences together?
Nope. Their needs are totally different. So your messaging needs to reflect that. You'd probably want separate PMax campaigns for each audience with different ad copy landing pages and even bidding strategies.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing the same logic applies if you have different types of products, even if you're targeting a similar audience.
Absolutely. Susan used the example of a car dealership selling both economy cars and luxury SUVs.
Okay, yeah, those are very different buyers.
You'd want to create separate PMax campaigns to highlight the unique features and benefits of each product line.
So it's all about tailoring your approach to fit the specific situation.
Exactly. There's no magic formula. It all comes down to what makes the most sense for your business and your goals.
So testing and iterating is key.
Always. That's how you figure out what works best for you.
But campaign structure is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right. Susan also talked about leveraging conversion value to further refine your targeting.
Conversion value. Remind me what that is again?
It's basically about assigning different values to different conversion actions based on how important they are to your business.
Okay, so a purchase would probably have a higher conversion value than a simple lead form submission.
Exactly, because not all conversions are created equal. Some are definitely more valuable than others.
And by assigning those different values, you're basically telling PMax which conversions to prioritize.
You got it. It's like giving PMax a weighted scorecard so it can make smarter decisions about where to allocate your budget.
I like that analogy. So we're giving PMax clear conversion goals, detailed audience signals, segmenting our campaigns, and now we're even assigning values to those conversions to guide PMax's decision-making.
Exactly. We're giving it all the information it needs to succeed.
It's like we're building this super-powered PMax machine.
I like it. But even with the best machine, you still need the right tools to operate it.
That's true. Susan talked about optimization and had a whole list of techniques and tools to make our PMax journey a little smoother.
Oh, yeah, she did. She mentioned things like scripts, custom alerts, bid management, competitor analysis.
Whoa, hold on a second. That sounds pretty techy. Do I need a computer science degree to figure all this out?
It can definitely feel overwhelming sometimes. But don't worry, you don't need to be a coding wizard. There are plenty of resources out there to help you. Susan even provided her contact info for anyone who wants personalized help.
That's good to know. So there's support available if we need it.
Definitely, you're not alone in this.
But even with all the tools and techniques at our disposal, it still comes down to connecting with our audience on a human level. And that's where the art of writing compelling ad copy comes in.
Couldn't agree more. Susan had some great insights on that too.
Okay, so what are some of her top tips for writing PMax ad copy that actually converts?
Well, she talked about leveraging dynamic headlines, which allows you to test multiple headlines within a single ad.
So you can see which ones perform best.
Exactly. It's like A/B testing on steroids.
And she also emphasized the importance of tailoring your ad copy to each specific audience segment.
Right. Remember how we talked about segmenting your campaigns? Well, the same principle applies to your ad copy.
So if you're targeting small businesses versus large enterprises, your messaging should be completely different.
Exactly. It's all about speaking directly to their unique needs and pain points.
And what about localization? Didn't she mention that too?
Yes. If you're targeting different geographic regions, it's crucial to customize your ad copy to reflect those local nuances.
So no more generic one-size-fits-all messaging.
Exactly. It's all about getting personal and relevant.
And finally, she talked about the role of AI in ad copywriting.
Yeah, that's a hot topic these days.
So are robots going to steal our jobs?
Not quite. AI is more of a tool to assist you, not replace you. It can help you test different combinations of headlines, descriptions, and calls to action much faster than you could manually.
But ultimately, human oversight is still key.
Absolutely. You're still the captain of the ship. AI is just your first mate.
I like that analogy. Okay, so we've got dynamic headlines, tailored messaging, localization, and AI-powered iteration. What else did Susan recommend?
Well, she wrapped up her presentation by highlighting some helpful tools that can make navigating the world of PMax a little easier.
I'm all ears when it comes to helpful tools, especially after hearing about all those scripts and custom alerts.
Well, she had a whole list, but she didn't go into too much detail on each one, probably to keep us on the edge of our seats wanting more.
Clever girl.
But she did mention tools for everything from keyword research to competitor analysis to ad copy insights.
Sounds like there's a whole universe of resources out there to help us conquer PMax. I'm feeling a lot more optimistic than I was at the beginning of this deep dive.
Me too. I think the key takeaway here is that PMax can be an incredibly powerful tool for lead generation, but you can't just set it and forget it.
It takes effort, strategy, and a willingness to constantly learn and adapt.
You got it. PMax is a journey, not a destination.
Okay, so let's recap everything we learned from Susan about PMax for lead generation. It was a lot to take in.
Yeah, she really covered it all.
So where do we even begin? What's the biggest takeaway?
I think the main thing to remember is that PMax isn't some magic bullet. It's not going to magically bring you a flood of high-quality leads.
Right, you can't just set it and forget it.
Exactly. You got to put in the work. You need a strategy.
So we need to define what a good lead actually looks like for our business. No more just chasing any old lead, right?
Right. You got to be specific. You need clear goals, and then make sure those goals are reflected in the conversions you're tracking in PMax.
And once we know what we're looking for, we got to give PMax the info it needs to find those leads. All those audience signals, right?
Exactly. Those signals are like a roadmap for PMax. They tell it who your ideal customer is. The more details you can provide, the better.
So demographics, interests, behaviors, all that stuff.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
And don't forget about past interactions with your brand. That can be super valuable too.
It's like giving PMax a VIP pass to your target audience.
Love that.
Yeah.
And remember, don't try to cram everyone into the same box. Susan was big on segmenting your campaigns.
Right. Break it down into smaller, more focused groups.
Exactly. You want to tailor your messaging and targeting to each specific audience and product type.
No more one-size-fits-all approaches.
It's all about customization, finding that perfect fit.
And speaking of perfect fit, we can't forget about the importance of high-quality ad copy and visuals. Even with AI, creative is still king.
Oh, absolutely. Susan's examples were spot on. Great creative can make all the difference.
Your ads need to be eye-catching, engaging, and speak directly to your audience's needs.
It's about grabbing their attention and making them want to learn more.
And thankfully, there are tools to help us with all of this.
Tons of tools, from scripts and custom alerts to bid management and competitor analysis.
Phew, it's a lot. But it sounds like we've got a lot of resources at our disposal.
Exactly. And there's always support available if you need help navigating it all.
So don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Never be afraid to ask for help.
So what's the biggest takeaway for you from Susan's presentation?
I think it's that PMax is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution. It takes strategy and effort to really make it work.
And a willingness to constantly learn and adapt.
Exactly. The digital marketing landscape is always changing, so you got to stay ahead of the curve.
Well said. So for everyone listening, we encourage you to really explore PMax and see how you can use it for your own marketing campaigns.
Think about your audience signals, your campaign structure, your ad copy, all those pieces that fit together.
It's a puzzle, and we've given you the pieces. Now it's up to you to put it all together.
And if you get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to the experts. There's a whole community out there ready to help.
We'll be here to guide you along the way. Until next time, happy marketing.